Mic check, mic check. Yes, sir. How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the live stream. We're going to get started here. Let's jump over to our live screen brought to you by Dubby. Dubby Energy. I love Dubby. Let's open up our stuff here. We're gonna talk about some Seattle Mariners. I have a lot to go over. I am super excited just with everything that's been going on Mariners wise, and I've wanted to just discuss it with things going here. So welcome in. Where to start? I am just starstruck. I've been saying it for a while. And I really, so where to start? Where do I even start? I've been a Mariners fan. I like Seattle sports. I've liked Seattle sports for a while, and to really put things into like, how do I word this? To really try and button this up. Where do I even start this video? Let's begin with like kind of how I started like following the Mariners like hardcore. Because I've always been like a Seattle fan, right? You know, I like the Seahawks, I like the Mariners, I like the Kraken. But it wasn't really, the Mariners was one of those teams for me that I just kind of had in the background. Not so much like a team that I was paying attention to that I really was invested in. It wasn't something that I was really invested in because I don't know, there wasn't the draw that I had to baseball that I have now. I love baseball. Baseball is life. So in 2019, I really started following the Mariners. And at that time, the Mariners were not a great team in 2019. And, like starting to really just kind of follow baseball, it was the team that I was like, we'll see what happens. And then 2022 comes around. And in 2022, the Mariners, for the first time in a long time, made it to the postseason because of a Cal Raleigh swing, a home run. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen as a sports fan. And I was hooked. I was immediately drawn in. I immediately was just sucked into the community of the Mariners, And I, like I said, I've been following them really closely since about 2019. Now, when Cal Raleigh hit that 2022, it was like a whole nother shift to these Mariners happened. And I was just locked in. It was absolutely incredible to be like witnessing this history. It was such a historic thing, and it was awesome. So 2022 went pretty good. I mean, you get to the postseason, you end up losing to Houston that year, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a really rough year, and it's one of the reasons I've just hated the Houston Astros. The heartbreak that the Houston Astros have caused Seattle fans. And you talk to any Seattle fan, they will agree 100%. The heartbreak that the Houston Astros have caused us Mariner fans is just so frustrating. And for me, it was like just year after year, these Astros kept taking the division. They would make it to the playoffs. Seattle would get eliminated. And just time after time, it was like, what are we doing? What are we doing as a baseball organization? Why can we not get the hitters we need? It was one thing I noticed, like, consistently was Seattle had no hitters. They had no hitters. We had Julio. Cal Raleigh was like, he wasn't as good as he was this year. I mean, good Lord, Cal Raleigh this year has been phenomenal. But, we had no hitters, and we had the pitching. Like, 2019 to now, we still do have great pitching. Seattle's pitching is amazing. I love it. However, we just had no hitting to back that up. And that is where I really struggled with these Mariners, is we had no hitting. And so I, through those years of just watching them, was just struggling with watching them and trying to stay a devoted fan, right? And once you pick a team, you stick with them. I know some people that like jump between teams and whatnot, but through thick and thin, you stay with your team. When you have your team, the ups and downs, you stay with your team. So this year comes around, and I at the start of the season, for this season for baseball, there was something different. Something was like different about these Mariners, because I looked at the lineup of their pitching staff, and I was like, this team has all the pitching in the world, from George Kirby, Luis Castillo, Bazardo. I mean, their bullpen alone, from Bazardo to I'm just blanking on some of the names here. Gabe Spire, another, Matt Brash. You have all of these guys in the bullpen that are just lights out pitchers. Any one of these guys could be a starter. Not all of them, but just the talent in the bullpen at the start of the year was the one thing that I was like, this is awesome. This right here could win us a World Series. And I said that at the start of the year, because I felt something about that bullpen, that at the start of the year, I was like, if they had the hitting behind this, once again, in that same breath, you talk about all these pitchers, you didn't have the lineup to back the pitching that you had in Seattle. And it's been the same way for years. So this year, during the trade deadline, every Mariners fan I think I talked to or just was around was like, bring Gino home. Bring Eugenio Suarez back to Seattle. And I was in full agreement. Because I love Eugenio Suarez. I think Eugenio was such a good vibes only. He brought such good energy to Seattle. And during the trade deadline, it was the one person that I wanted the Mariners to bring back. I wanted the Mariners to bring back Eugenio Suarez. And, there went my music. Let's go back here. Sorry about that. It was the one person I wanted the Mariners to bring back, was Eugenio Suarez. So I was absolutely not so much astonished, but just in awe and happy that they did it. They did it. They did what all the Mariners fans wanted. They not only brought back Eugenio Suarez, they went and got Josh Naylor too, so they got Josh Naylor first. And that surprised me a lot, because it was it was kind of a in the trade deadline getting Josh Naylor, I was like, oh, it kind of caught me off guard, because it wasn't a person on my radar that I didn't think Seattle necessarily would have grabbed. But once Seattle grabbed Josh Naylor during the trade deadline, it was like, oh, you're serious about this year. You're taking this year very seriously just by this move alone. Then they brought Eugenio Suarez back, and I lost my mind. The day they brought Gino back along with Josh Naylor, I was like, okay, now we have a team. I looked at the roster, the lineup, the hitters. We have, not only Julio Rodriguez, who everyone that knows Seattle sports, especially with Julio, he's kind of a late in the season. He blossoms late in the season. It's almost like every year I've watched Julio Rodriguez, at the end of the year, he seems to just explode and get really hot. Okay, that's awesome. But this year, you had Cal Raleigh hit 60 home runs, the most home runs by a catcher in Major League history. The most home runs by a switch hitter. I mean, just all of these accolades that Cal Raleigh, our catcher, was getting was so crazy, and it outshined everybody else on this lineup. Now that's nothing against any of these other players, because we had so much talent on that roster at that point. After the trade deadline, we had so much talent. And it's nothing against the rest of the lineup, but when you have a catcher making MLB history, and it's just there's no words to describe how cool it was to watch this season. Locked in, by the way, locked into the entire fan base, locked into the entire every single game this season I have watched. Well, not every single game, but every series I've watched 1 or 2 games in each series this season. It was so just refreshing to lock in to a sports team, your sports team, to just watch them lock in and just take off with the whole thing. There was some rocky sections towards the end where it was like, back and forth between the Astros and the Mariners, who was going to take the lead and who wasn't. And right at the end of the season, when the Astros started losing games, they were just, I can't even remember who they played towards the end of the season, but they started losing. And it was Texas. I think Texas beat them to knock them down 3 games behind Seattle. And at that point, Seattle had the lead in the division. There was only like 6 games left in the season. And so Seattle goes out and sweeps the Rockies, which was awesome. I mean, that's a team you should sweep. It's a team that, was not very good at all. And so they take care of business against the Rockies, which was awesome, which gives them that lead. Now, then they proceed to get swept by the Dodgers, and that one kind of hurt a little bit. I really wish they would have finished the season with a 1 or 2 games against the Dodgers, but it really didn't make a difference because Seattle had already taken the division, and they, at that point, they led the division, and they were able to make the postseason. They had already got the number 2 seed, which was crazy. I mean, that alone gives them home field for, this series against the Tigers, which happened already, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm watching the Guardians and I'm watching the Tigers. All the Mariners fans are, and it's just like my thought watching that series was, give us Detroit. I really wanted Detroit over Cleveland because I thought Cleveland would have more hitters. I think Cleveland still does have more hitters than Detroit, but Detroit gets the dub 3-1. I think it was 3-1 or 2-1. It's a 3-game series in the wild card. My bad. So Detroit moves on to play us in this 5-game series, and Seattle game 1 loses, and it was kind of heartbreaking a little bit to watch the Mariners lose game 1 to Detroit, because Detroit was the team that I wanted Seattle to play against in the series, because I knew they didn't have the lineup, or I mean, they had Skubal as far as the pitching goes, but they had no real talent. I say that, but this series turned out to be just a slugfest, back and forth between the Tigers and Mariners. Watching every single game in that series was like a heartache or heart attack, when Seattle would win. But back and forth between the pitching matchups and the hitting. And when it comes to is it Kerry Carpenter? Dude, Carpenter went off on Seattle. I mean, game 1 to take the lead in a home run off of Kirby, that was so hard to watch. And I was like, this guy's gonna give us so much grief in the postseason. And if it wasn't, if Detroit did not have Carpenter, I don't think they would have done as well as they did. Riley Green played outstanding baseball. I thought Riley Green was actually really good during that series, but between those 2 hitters, nobody else on the lineup really did much, and they're a young team. Detroit's a young team, but it was really crazy. So game 5 comes around, Now, Game 5, as we know, 15 innings. It was a game I was watching with my dad. I said from the start to finish we watched it, but my dad's not really big into baseball. He's more of a football guy. But I was like, hey, Dad, you want to watch, this is the win or go home game for the Mariners. Would you like to watch it? And he's like, sure. So we sat down, started watching the game, and it's getting late. Ninth inning comes around. It's still tied 2-2. And then we go to the 10th, the 11th, as you know, it just grinded out this 15-inning game. By the top of the bottom of the 15th? Yeah, so Seattle to walk it off, right? And thank God for Jorge Polanco. Thank God for Jorge Polanco, man. Seattle picking him up, he was injured last year, which really kind of crippled him as far as his talent. A lot of people were kind of shitting on Jorge Polanco, but as we saw in April, Jorge Polanco went off in April. He was one of the hottest hitters in the baseball in April, and so that was great. But we needed to see that further in the season. But when Jorge Polanco hit that, through the gap into the field and got the run across to walk it off, it was such a the tension. Like I said, my dad wasn't really big into baseball, but the tension in the room just from that inning alone was like, holy crap. What is back and forth from the 9th inning to the 15th? It was like there were so many chances on both sides of the ball there with Detroit and Seattle to win the game or walk it off or, take a lead. And they were just struggling, both teams. And then you get the bases loaded in the 15th. Jorge Polanco hits that run to send Seattle to the series they're in against the Blue Jays right now. And I fell to the ground. I was like, yes. And my dad's like, calm down. Your mom's asleep. Like, chill. You know what I mean? I just was so happy that Seattle made it to the divisional series, the final against the Blue Jays. Now, the reason I was happy that they made it to the Blue Jays, here's the thing. And Blue Jay fans were talking so much trash. Talking online, whether it was Twitter like this, they were just talking mad trash. All the Blue Jays fans were talking so much trash. And, it was one of those series that I was not worried about because I don't think we lost a single series when we played. I'm going to Google it right now, but I don't think we lost a single game or a single series to the Blue Jays this season. And that's why I was confident going into this divisional series. That's why I was confident that we were going to we still have the chance to lose a game here, but we could sweep these Blue Jays completely. And the reason is they've got some great hitters. Alejandro Kirk, Vladimir Guerrero. They have some really, really good talent on that team, but they don't have the pitching. They don't have any pitching. It's so tough for the Blue Jays because they don't have they have one of my favorite pitchers of all time in Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman is by far one of my favorite pitchers in the league. I think his delivery, his kick, everything is just top to bottom. It's clean. He's one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. Now, Kevin Gausman goes out and does really well, obviously, but he loses that game because Seattle, 3-1 right here, this game I'm talking about, 3-1. Just when I saw Cal Raleigh hit a home run off of him, I was like, wow, this is already starting to build momentum. And keep in mind, they're in Toronto. And it seems like every single time Seattle's played the Blue Jays, they've had their number. And it's mostly because of one man, Cal Raleigh. So I'm actually going to go back through the season this year, and I'm going to see when we played the Blue Jays, just out of curiosity, because I want to know if here's a series against the Blue Jays. They beat us. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. So we actually got swept by them. This was back in May. Early on. Okay. So I was wrong, and I was wrong. I thought we'd swept them, or at least hadn't lost a series to them. incorrect on that part. We got swept by them back in May. So, okay, let's see. There's got to be another series. Here's another series against the Blue Jays in April, so closer to the start of the season. And this one, loss, win, win. So we actually win that series. So we've split the series, it looks like. And I think we only played them twice, if I'm not mistaken. The rest of this is preseason? Yeah. Okay. So 2 series against these Blue Jays. And we lose, it looks like we win the first series and we lose the second series during the regular season. So we got swept in the second one. I thought we won both series, but that shows how much I'm like really paying attention. But it's a long season, 162 games. It's crazy to keep up with. But like towards the middle of the season, we're really back and forth once again with Houston. Houston's taking the division lead, and then Seattle's taking the division lead, and then it's just back and forth. But towards the tail end, once Houston started getting beat, and they lost that series against Texas, it was like, oh, Seattle could take the division lead there, which they ended up doing. Now, the real kicker was when Seattle went to Houston and swept them. Right here. We'll go back to it. This is like, we are so tired. As Mariners fans, we are so tired of these Astros. They're so tired of these Astros. I myself, and I know I'm not alone in this thinking, am so tired of these Astros. They've got so much like hitting talent and pitching talent. I mean, Framber Valdez alone destroys the Mariners. Framber Valdez is so annoying to see on the mound because I know Seattle's going to struggle against him because he's good. He's good. And to see Seattle go into Houston, this was a divisional game, divisional series, to see them sweep these Astros. Literally sweep them aside. It was such a sigh of relief because I'm so tired of these Astros. And I know I'm not alone in that thought. Anyway, besides that, so we go on to where we're at right now. Let's talk about the divisional game that we're in right now against the Blue Jays. I have not worried about these Blue Jays because of one person, Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh has destroyed these Blue Jays. And during game 1, when he hit the tying home run, it didn't quiet the Blue Jay fans so much as it was kind of a shock. Blue Jay fans, I think they hate Cal Raleigh. It was just crazy. So Seattle goes on to win it 3-1 in the first game. Then yesterday they opened it up. They opened it up against these Blue Jays 10-3, which is what I wanted them to do. Like I said, Seattle's got the better pitching. Seattle has the better pitching. Now Bryce Miller in game 1 surprised me because when he got teed off on, I'm not sure who teed off on him in the run. I could look it up, but gets a home run, knocked off him, and that was the first pitch of the first inning. And it was like I was kind of ticked off because I don't know, Bryce Miller up to this game obviously had struggled during the regular season. Really struggled, and he was frustrating to watch as a pitcher because we had so much talent on that team. I personally think Matt Brash and maybe Bizardo are better pitchers than Bryce Miller. And, this is personal opinion. Statistics could prove me wrong, but Bryce Miller went out and absolutely shoved this game. It was beautiful. He went, I think, 6 innings, and just besides that one run, absolutely shut down the Blue Jays. And then our bullpen comes in and cleans the rest of the game up, and we win 3-1. Then in game 2 yesterday, obviously, the Mariners, phenomenal. Home runs from Julio got a 3-run home run. I'm blanking here. Josh Naylor had a home run. All of these people, just everybody on the lineup works their butts off to try and win and do whatever they can to make a difference. And it paid off yesterday. I mean, 10-3 away in Toronto is huge. It's huge. To take a 2-game series lead, and then you come home to Seattle for the next 3 games, I think we sweep them. I think we sweep these Blue Jays. I seriously think we sweep them in the next 2 games. We're at home. The atmosphere is going to be crazy. I think we sweep these Blue Jays. I don't think they have much left in the tank. I think if we're being realistic about what is left on the table for these Blue Jays and the Mariners, I think we win it in 5. I think we win it in 5. 5 games. I think the Blue Jays get 1. I think they'll get 1. Because the Blue Jays are talented. They do have talent. They've got a lot of talent. Alejandro Kirk, Vladimir Guerrero, just a couple pitchers, and they have talent. But I think they only get 1 game, and then Seattle will close it out. I think they win it. I think Seattle wins it in 5 if we're being realistic, because I don't think the Blue Jays are going to go down that easy. I'm hoping and praying that we get a sweep. It would be crazy because everybody that's a Mariners fan is just sitting on the edge of the seat waiting for this. We are literally 2 wins away from going to the World Series for the first time. And it is so crazy. It is so crazy as a fan of this organization. That I've been a fan for years, and just watching them, the ups and downs, sticking with them, to see where they're at right now, the grit that this team has. We are 2 wins away from going to our first World Series. And it's so cool. It's so cool. So I think Seattle wins it, and I'm hoping for a sweep. I hope we win it in the next 2. It would be awesome. I think we're realistically going to win it in 5. 5 games is what it's going to take. But we're at home. We've got the next 3 at home. It's going to be insane. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really, as far as the matchup on the other side, if we go to the World Series, you know what? I'm going to say this. When the Seattle Mariners go to the World Series this year for the first time, I'm gonna speak it into existence, okay? You heard it here first. When they go to the World Series, I really want them to face Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's been before. Seattle's never been to the World Series ever. This is going to be so cool. And so I really want the Mariners to play Milwaukee, the Brewers. They'll probably, if we're being realistic, I think we're going to play the Dodgers. The Dodgers are the team to beat. They're the reigning champs. And for a reason. I mean, they have Shohei Ohtani, for goodness sake. But this team is so good up and down. And I want Seattle and Milwaukee for the World Series. And I want Seattle to win it. I really want Seattle to win it. And, it's just as a fan, watching this season has been insane. I want Cal Raleigh to win the MVP for the AL West, or the AL in general. I want him to win it because everybody was kind of talking about Judge and, Judge this and that. And it's like, Judge, he's good. He's really good. But when you're talking about somebody who's done more for the team, the most valuable player, is it Judge or is it Raleigh? Well, who has played more games behind the dish? Who has called the games behind the dish? Who has done the research on the hitting, all the hitters, done the research on all his pitchers, understanding what his pitchers like to throw, understanding their array of different pitches and getting to know them on a personal level so that he has a better understanding of when it's game time, what they're going to want to attack certain people with and what is in each repertoire of each pitcher. That's Cal Raleigh doing all of this on top of hitting 60 home runs. And people want to still talk about, oh, yeah, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge isn't this close to the World Series. The Yankees are out of it. That alone should tell you everything. Everything you need to know. That alone right there. So there's my thoughts. I wanted to get on here and just kind of give a spiel about these Mariners and the amazing talent and effort and just everything. I mean, I'm just amazed at everything these Mariners have done. It's such a cool thing to witness and just be a fan of this season. So go Mariners. Let's go all the way. Let's win this World Series. Let's do it. Let's do it. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Stay awesome, stay safe, and rock on. Go Mariners. We'll see ya. Peace.